Thanks for tuning into our broadcast, The Hard Talk. Here, we intend to chat with players in the hospitality industry and try get a feeling of what are the sentiments that they are facing. From ground up, people to infrastructure to rent. We're going to be completely candid. Today we have with us Mr. Nakul Rajaram, a second generation entrepreneur at the helm of some of Bangalore's most iconic restaurants, Ebony, 13th floor and Asia. But he doesn't stop at restaurants, he also runs a resort in Wayanad called Tranquil. Let's get right into it and hear him out. Hi Nakul.
Hi Gautam, how are you?
Good afternoon, doing great. Hope you're doing well as well.
Yes, doing good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's just straight jump into the conversation. I'm sure our questions will cover most of the things that we want to address. So I'm
Sure.
going to start by actually asking you, how are you doing as an individual in this situation, regarding to the businesses and the business itself that you're running?
So Gautam, it's a bit of a tricky situation right now because we run three restaurants, two restaurants and a bar, Ebony on the Edge and 13th floor on MG Road. We have temporarily shut as of 5th of July due to the rising cases of Bangalore, the 8 p.m. curfew, and also the Sunday curfew. We saw the first week when we opened on June 11th. We saw a lot of people coming in. So we had just opened the 13th floor space and not Ebony and on the Edge. So we were essentially servicing a 60-seater restaurant. And between lunch and dinner, we saw on average about 40 to 50 people coming every day. This was during week one. During week two, that reduced 10% to about 30 to 40 people coming every day on average. And the third week or the week before we shut, we saw an average of only about, say, 15 people coming in every day, which was not viable for the business. So looking back, when we started off, there were just 500 corona positive cases in the whole of Karnataka when we started. The day we closed, there were 2,000 cases in Karnataka, of which Bangalore contributed more than 50% just on that day. So it was a conscious decision taken by the organization, both looking at the safety of our customers and also our staff who typically have younger children or older parents living with them. Also, a lot of our staff were living in containment zones. They couldn't get out of the containment zones. People were called back to their villages by their parents or by their family. So it just made sense for us to temporarily close and reopen once there's more certainty and there's more clarity, when we can serve alcohol, when we can open a little later, and hopefully, when the pandemic is closer to the end.
Absolutely. I think what you've done actually is a very important aspect of any business, because if you didn't try to do this and try to mitigate the risk of running a business, right? Like you said, there are so many risk factors that are actually revolving back to family and people having opinions about their, kids and sons trying to go out and work in this particular environment. So what I've seen is that instead of mitigating the risk, you've actually decided to take a pause and put a pause on the system and come back when things are really, really normal. Well, that's a great decision. I'm sure there are a lot of other businesses taking this risk, and I'm not sure what they're doing to mitigate this while they're running. But let's just hope for the best on that note. Well, keeping this in mind, I'd like to really jump into saying, how is the ecosystem that that this particular industry is with, from ranging from landlords, employees, vendors? Are they actually supportive? Are they giving you the right credit periods you require? Because we know that things are not functioning, but I'm sure if they are functioning, they expect you to splurge what's needed to be splurged. How are you kind of handling such a situation, or how do you suggest everyone else to manage?
So Gautam, if you look at it, the suppliers, landlords have been accommodating to a point, but you need to look at it from their point of view. They've got businesses to run, families to feed, employees to pay. So where and when possible, we have made either full payments or part payments, just to keep them going as well, because some of these suppliers have been with us for 20, 25 years plus. So they know that their money is safe with us, but at the same time, we also need, to give them some clarity on when we can repay these payments. So largely they have been accommodating. So we had a restaurant in Whitefield, Ebony in Whitefield, which we have decided to close The main reason being we started it, the financials made sense since it was an 88-seater restaurant. But now with the social distancing norms saying you can only operate 50% of your capacity, which now the whole financials changed to a 44-seater restaurant, of which if you have a table for four, a four-seater, and you have two people sitting, that's effectively your capacity going down by 25%. So we looked at it and took, a business decision, not an emotional decision, and decided that during these uncertain times it just didn't make sense for us to continue running the Whitefield restaurant.
Right, right. I mean, the fact of the matter still stands that no matter what capacity you're functioning, it's 20, 40, 60, you still need to have the resources to run the restaurant, right?
Yes,
Having
and
the
you
right
also
amount of
you have fixed costs like electricity, like coal, like water, employees. There's only so much that you can cut down on that. So your operational costs, and you just reach a point where you know that it doesn't make sense to stay open anymore, and that we just need to wait out this pandemic and reopen when everything is there's more clarity, even in the whole system.
Right, right. Very true, very true. Well, on a note of the business again, what part of the business do you think is really the one that's impacted? I mean, if I have to put it in a lighter way or give you some bulletin points, would it be the employees? Would it be the consumer's trust? Or would it be the rental? Or would it be the sanitation costs that are coming up? What is that seems to really be impacting the most in a situation like this?
So it's everything, Gautam. So I look at it as a chain. So if there are no customers coming in, we don't have enough money to pay our employees or to pay our suppliers, and the whole ripple effect carries down throughout the industry and eventually the economy. So now customers are also scared to go out and eat in restaurants. There was recently a JP Morgan Chase study that linked credit card spending at restaurants with positive cases. So stories like this keep coming out. There was about 2 months back the pizza delivery man who tested positive in Delhi, which saw a huge drop in restaurant in ordering through Swiggy, Zomato, etc. So there are cases like this. Customers who came and dined with us during the first week were scared during the third week. People who ordered in during the first and second weeks, their apartment societies stopped delivery boys entering the premises. So there was a lot that changed from the first week to the third week. And given the rise in cases, it's only looking worse from now.
True, true that, true that. Well, I see that when a business is shut prominently, everything is cut, as in every relationship or every prospective business vendorship is cut. But if you had a choice, if you were running today, and what would be the top three things that you would really eradicate to cut costs? I mean, I'd like to understand if you were running, if you had to run.
So the first thing where we cut costs was our DJ at 13th floor. So what we did was we downloaded a playlist through Spotify, and we were playing that. We also tied up with a streaming service called Jukebox, which was about 1/10 the cost of the DJ, or less than 1/10 the cost of the DJ. The second thing was we cut our loyalty program because we saw the loyalty program as a luxury on top of a luxury, which is the restaurant industry. And we thought that we will revisit this program once things get back to normal. The third thing is we cut our marketing budgets, which we typically use for social media, for Zomato, and also started doing our social media marketing and posting in house between me, my sister, and my brother.
Right, right. Fair points. I mean, I think those are the top three things that really is comes into a block that can actually save you a small amount of money or the expenses. Well, coming back to the advertisement costs, how are the dine-ins and the Zomatos actually coming over and pondering you? How are they, are they being persistent on spends? Are they understanding the fact that yes, I'm sure nobody's going to spend? What is your kind of a tone around them on that note?
So they've largely understood that restaurants, especially fine dining restaurants, don't have the marketing budgets that they had pre-COVID. So they have come out with programs like contactless dining, both Zomato and Dine Out. So Zomato worked with us on a commission basis. Dine Out was offering a flat fee plus commission, and we thought that at this point we didn't, have the budgets to pay on a flat fee. So we tied up with Zomato. So Zomato came, deployed their contactless dining, did some marketing from their side on their platforms. But largely, it's building trust, Gautam, with the customers. So most of the customers who did come back have been our loyal customers over 25 years, and they said, the first place where we will go and dine out is yours because we've been dining here for so many years. Another thing is we are completely open air. We don't have air conditioning. It's not an enclosed space. Uh, you know, and it's just important to keep your standards up, keep your hygiene up, which we've been doing for 25 years. But of course, now there's a lot more that we do, like sanitizing the tables, sanitizing the menus, the chairs, making sure our staff are temperature checked twice a day. They sanitize their hands every half an hour. Uh, our cutlery and crockery are all sterilized, UV sterilized. Yeah, so there's a lot that's changed, since March and now.
Right. Well, I mean, what comes across to me is that there's a lot of precautions being taken. Well, all of the sanitation that you're looking to actually adds
Yeah.
up to a business cost based on the size of the business. Do you see that this is actually going to add up to the cost to the end consumer? I mean, be it restaurant or be it accommodative hotel. Do you see these costs being put across to the consumer end consumer at their billing aspects?
Uh, I think if you look at it today, consumers are more aware of what they're paying for. Menus are easily available through platforms like Dine Out, Zomato. So during the 3 weeks that we were open, we absorbed all these costs. We understood that now this is a cost that is unavoidable, and we did not pass it on to the consumer as we felt that it was just not fair for us to pass on this, and we just uh, took it as an additional cost that is required right now.
I see. I see. That's great. What do you see the new normal going to be? I mean, do you envision this to be the new normal at all? Because it's not a good sight for sure, right?
No, I mean, when you see, stewards and captains and waiters coming up to you with a face shield and a mask and gloves, it's a little uneasy, a little scary. Customers, when we ask them, how are you feeling? They look at me and say, "How are you feeling?" With the mask on and the face shield. But these are things, Gautam, that you can't avoid now. This is some you need to instill confidence both in your customers as well as your staff. And there will only be normalcy will only resume once we have either a medicine or hopefully a vaccine in the near future.
True. I mean, we all hope for the best on that note. I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's not a
absolutely,
not a nice world to be out here right now.
absolutely.
Considering that there is a huge obvious hit on the dine-in, and delivery as we see is not your majority of the business aspect, and even with delivery constraints being out there, which is quite obvious, with the communities trying to
Yeah,
lock off outside visitors,
yeah.
what else do you see is the future of hospitality? I mean, does catering and any of those factors come to the forefront now, because it's much easier to build
Uh,
trust on that note?
so catering usually involves guests of over 20 people, which people are not doing anymore, just because the fear factor has really set in the people. So we used to do on average 10 to 12 catering, large catering varying from 20 people to 200 people every month. That has come to zero. Ordering in seems to be the only way forward, but at our price points, uh, so pre-COVID, ordering in or takeout contributed less than 1% of our overall revenue. And, during these 3 weeks, it contributed about approximately 40%. So we had to take a call whether to stay open or not. We were known, for an occasion to come and dine in with the view and the good food. And we just didn't see it viable to just stay open for delivery at this point. But your Nagarjunas and your Meghna Biryanis and your Corner House, they can survive off just takeout. But I don't think any fine dining restaurant can survive off just doing takeout and delivery through online aggregators.
Fair, fair. That's just not the viable way for the experience to be great, especially if you're a venue that wants to offer an experience. Where do you see the consumer trends being shifted to? I mean, I see a
Absolutely.
lot of takeaway, curbside pickup, sort of an experience coming across in the first world countries.
Consumer
But
trends are
when
shifting more towards, people who didn't cook before March are now starting to cook. People are ordering from No, but I think people are cooking now, are ordering in less. People are ordering from, we see a huge number of home chefs marketing through Instagram, through Facebook. A lot of people ordering in through there. Fresh to home, licious. I think this is where consumer trends are moving right now, towards prepackaged food uh, and away from traditional restaurants.
True. I mean, that seems to be a lot more competition biting off your pie of the market, I suppose so. But but yeah, nevertheless, as long as things can get better and things people are still eating out, I'm sure a business that's dedicated to doing catering can also survive on that note. Um, well, do you think that technology is actually a beacon of hope at this point of time, or I mean, you think technology can be accepted much more than it was in the past in many, not just in the
Yes,
space of
technology.
delivery, but yeah,
No,
not
technology
just in
can
delivery,
definitely
but
help as a means of communication between the restaurant and the consumer. A lot has changed in the last 5 6 years. Where earlier, if you had to make a reservation or even know what's on the menu, you'd have to call the restaurant and ask them if they had certain dishes, what the prices were. Even ordering delivery, you would have to call the restaurant, and then the restaurant would send a delivery driver. Then you have to call the delivery driver, see where they are. But now, through your Zomato, Dine Out, Easy Diner, you can make a reservation, you can see the menu, you can see the prices all online. And also, communicating certain safety standards, safety audits that we've done. This really helps in instilling confidence. Also, Dine Out and Zomato have come out with their contactless dining programs, which again instills confidence in diners that dining out is safe and is okay even during these times.
true that we hope that these things actually make an impact, and we are able to write this whole thing using technology, because that seems to be the only tangible way of going forward. um,
Absolutely.
how much longer do you see this to reverberate, and what are the effects that what are the implications of all of these impacts that you've had will last for you going forward? I mean, how do you see that going ahead?
As I said, we will only see an end once either a vaccine or a medicine comes out. Uh, or even the hospitality industry, once we're allowed to serve alcohol again, when we're allowed to stay open a little later. uh, there's a whole, as communicated earlier, there's a huge ripple effect, right, from everybody, from employees to suppliers to ancillary units. Everybody related to the hospitality industry is suffering right now. About 60% of my staff, or even more now, have gone back, to their villages around Karnataka and to different parts of the country. We don't know if they'll ever return. Highly trained chefs, highly trained stewards, captains, cashiers. They've all gone back to their villages all over the country, and we don't know if they will return, and if they do return, we don't know when that will be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge in your hand is quite a lot more than just building trust with the consumers. It's actually building trust with
Absolutely,
your employees, and
absolutely,
how do you do that is itself a whole different brainstorming session that you probably need to have. I
absolutely.
mean, what percentage of this whole businesses that you see not coming back, even when you decide to open up, or how much of a cost do you think you're going to bear to kind of bring back to this normalcy? How do you see this going forward?
I think right now it's unpredictable, Gautam, because the second day after we opened 3 weeks back, our head cashier decided to fly back to Calcutta, and then we had our assistant manager becoming the cashier. During lunch session one day, one of our stewards got a call from his mother saying there are increase in cases in Bangalore. Come back to your hometown immediately. So literally mid session he removed his uniform, got into his clothes, and left to Mandya. So it's very hard, Gautam, to predict what's going to happen, whether people are going to return, uh, how many restaurants will survive, how many bars will survive. Once this is all over, people are predicting, giving numbers anywhere from 40 to 60% of restaurants and bars that we know of today will not reopen.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that is a shocking revelation to have. In fact, I mean, to say it's quite hard for the new entrants, even I suppose so. Probably the industry itself needs a complete overhaul in this nature.
Absolutely.
Do you have any a piece of advice of advice that you'd like to give out to restaurateurs generally out there who are functioning today? Because you seem to have taken a step backward and said, we may not be able to contain the risk, and hence we're taking this step going forward. What about the ones who are moving forward? How do you think they can sustain and bring about a lot of sanitation into play?
I think you need to people in this industry need to stop taking emotional decisions. I have a friend who opened a pizza joint 2 months before lockdown, and so for people like that, people especially new entrants, it's tough. And when you've just started your new venture, it's very tough for you to to think as from a business point, and not thinking about how much effort you've put into the project, or your savings, or etc., what you've put in. So I think it's people or restaurant owners need to take a logical call and not an emotional call at this, looking at their numbers and the business, and also the safety of their employees and customers, and take a logical decision and not an emotional one at this time.
True, that's true. That's true. Worst case scenario, what happens if things do go overboard? I mean, I'm sure that's not the site, the position that we want to be at. But what do you think
Yeah.
really would happen if things happen to go overboard? I mean, it's happening, but we are not able to realize the heat of it. But what happens when that really gets onto to the urban world? What do you think is going to be the impact of it to the hospitality industry?
I think you just need to wait this out, Gautam. Wait it out. Make sure you have enough of a runway of capital, to maintain basic staff salaries, to maintain basic vendor payments, and just whenever this is over, you need to have enough capital also to restart. To buy raw materials, to make sure you have enough coal for the tandoor, to make sure you buy sanitation material. So the only thing right now is you just need to wait, be positive, and hope that when we are allowed to open, we still can.
Right, right. Are you taking any measures to sort of win back the trust? I mean, the trust of everybody, the ecosystem, come from employees. Although you're providing them with all necessary accommodation aspects, the trust of the consumers. I mean, how do you see this can be achieved for any business that's sort of important as of now?
So during our 3 week period, we had customers who came to us multiple times, and when I asked them, what makes you come back, they said one is you've kept up your quality of food, you've kept up your quality of service. You guys are open air, you're maintaining socially distant norms. I can tell that tables are 6 feet apart. You're sanitizing. So it's a different ball game, even for employees. Now they have to wear masks. They have to remember to also sanitize tables, to sanitize menus, to make sure the tableware has been sterilized. And it's also very important, to maintain clarity and honesty with your staff, and say that this is the current situation. We're doing everything that we can. If you need any support, please reach out to us. And I think just being honest at this time is what is the most important, with both your customers as well as your employees, and also your vendors.
Right, right. Do you feel that the hospitality industry has had the harsher end of the pie, considering that there's a lot of other industries where there's a human intervention, there's human interaction. I mean, be it wellness and spa. But do you see that hospitality has been taken the biggest hit and the burden, and do you feel that to be a fair affair?
I don't know if the biggest hit, but definitely, one of the industries that have been hit the hardest. If you look at restaurants, Gautam, restaurants, I look at it as a luxury, right? You don't have to go out to a restaurant to survive. You can cook at home, you can order taken, you can resort to Licious, or getting food from your neighbor. Or going out and eating is a luxury. You can survive without going for a holiday. But you can't survive without basic medical care. You can't survive without medicines. You can't survive without a lot of other things. But we have to look at the hospitality industry as a luxury, and not a necessity during these tough times. Also, with people losing jobs, taking pay cuts, not being certain if they're going to be employed tomorrow. People are also holding back on unnecessary spending during this time.
Right. True. True. Are you ideating anything that's beyond just dine in and dine out? I mean, there are pre-packed foods that are coming out from restaurants today. There are various other ways of catering services that people are trying to do. they're going completely online, looking at the ecosystem that we have. Are you trying to, in particularly, come up with some unique concepts at Aswati?
The points that you mentioned, Gautam, all, you have to look at it that all of these involve a basic amount of investment. So right now we are just waiting it out. We are planning to launch a couple of brands, mainly targeting takeout and online ordering, which will be at a lower price point than what you see at Ebony or ASEAN on the edge. But we are not rushing into it. We're going to wait it out, wait for a new normal to emerge, some new clarity in the market to emerge, and then only will be launched. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves during this time.
Well, thanks everyone for watching the show. We hope you enjoyed the program. If you did, please leave us a thumbs up. We strongly believe that to build the future of hospitality, we really need to get to the core of the problem here. And that is the sentiment faced by every person in the industry at the moment. If you want to feature on our show or know anyone else who has something to say, please reach out to us on the details given below. We have a long and hard path to realize the true solutions for the hospitality industry. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, have a nice day and goodbye.